Johar! Hello everyone! Greetings to all. I'm Archana Soreng. I am from Khariya tribe and I'm from India. And I'm so happy to see you all beautiful faces, glowing faces with lots of happiness and lots of hope. So now, as I'm moderating this opening segment, I want you all to meet my dear friend and the co-moderator. But you'll have to travel all the way and you have to go to Philippines. So are you ready to go to Philippines? I hear it's a big yes. So let me take you to Philippines and introduce and call on my friend Kim. Hi Kim.
Hi Archana, hi everyone. Good afternoon and good evening from wherever you are. I am Kim Falyao, a council member of Asia Indigenous Youth Platform or AIYP, and I will be Archana's co-host for the opening program. And we welcome you to celebrating International Youth Day 2023, empowering Indigenous and local community youth for a sustainable world.
An initiative of Asia Indigenous and local community youth.
This event is a collective effort of Asia Indigenous Youth Platform, Youth Federation of Indigenous Nationalities Nepal, Kaum Muda Tanah Air, Indonesia Barisan Pemuda Adat Nusantara, Nilgiris Particularly Vulnerable Tribal Groups Federation, RICOF TC, Asia Indigenous Peoples Pact, and Rights and Resources Initiative and its Asia Youth Program. So what are we looking to achieve here, Archana?
Well, for me and for all of us collectively, this is such a big and huge moment that we all have come together and collectively organizing ourselves and celebrating International Youth Day, and we also had International Day of World's Indigenous People on 9th of August. And taking into consideration both of this celebration, we are here to understand and reflect it from a lens of land rights and governance. And I also feel that, as we all have been discussing, advocating in different spaces, we still miss each other, we miss to meet each other, but now we have Zoom and online meetings. So this is an opportunity to not only meet each other, but also meet all our friends across the globe and also have all our elders joining to learn from them, to seek their wisdom and to understand our struggles with them. Well, there's a very important thing that is happening today. One of the very important thing which we all have been working really hard on as a collective effort is that we have the curtain raiser of Youth Mapping Report, the key messages and recommendations. So that is something I'm really looking up to. And most importantly, we all Asia Indigenous and local community youth have been advocating for our rights, for our identity. We are here to build solidarity. We are here with the sense of deep love and respect for each other. And we want the world to listen to our voices and hear our perspective and support us.
Yes, I hope everyone is excited as we are. And before we formally start our program, everyone should keep their mics on mute. Should you have any question or anything you want to share, feel free to use the Zoom chat box. Everyone can also utilize the reactions options in the room if you want to express your emotions or what you feel. On that note, I would really like everyone to hear the beautiful and sweet voice of my dear friend Archana, who is also here not just as a co-moderator, but also to welcome us with a song. Go Archana!
Thank you, Kim. Well, we are here together and I can't be more happy that I have you all today here with us. And this is a song from my Kharya tribe language. And this is my favorite song, which I want to sing for you all today. The meaning of the song is, where will we get this beautiful moments with our friends, brothers and sisters, and where will we get this lovely moment? I am so happy to have you all. And the song goes like this. Atuku ina ughai sundar samai, Atuku ina ughai sundar samai, Dada ki bungsari sango, Didi ki bungsari sango, Atuku ina ughai sundar samai, Atuku ina ughai sundar samai. I'm cherishing every bit of this moment that we are spending together, and I'm so blessed and thankful for having you all here today.
See, I told you. Archana here really has a beautiful and sweet voice. So thank you very much, Archana, for sharing your talent with us. And with that, to formally open our program for today, let us all welcome Ned Tuginay, the chairperson of Asia Indigenous Youth Platform, to share with us his keynote address.
Kamdakang itipin sa kinatipker, tinagam na ituloy ipanagtignay, tapno hustisya maturay. Itipan na kilaban mi, masugbot kinataumi, di umili sa lakbibang, tangalang mi bendisyonan. May patumpal kung maglano, pampabaro ibigay mo.
Nabarang kablao, warm greetings to everyone. I am Ned Tuginay, an Igorot youth from the Cordillera, Philippines. I am currently the chairperson of the Asia Indigenous Youth Platform, and locally I am a member of the Cordillera Peoples Alliance. The prayer you have just heard and witnessed is from our cultural organization known as the Painti Kultura iti Cordillera, or the People's Center for Culture in the Cordillera. We call it a salidumay, a form of indigenous chant popular in our communities. We have just finished celebrating the International Day of the World's Indigenous Peoples, and it was such an inspiring celebration, especially since the Indigenous youth are at the forefront of this year's theme. Indigenous youth as agents of change for self-determination. Now, in our celebration of the International Youth Day, the United Nations announced that the theme for this year is Green Skills for Youth towards a Sustainable World. According to the UN, green skills are the knowledge, abilities, values, and attitudes needed to live in, develop, and support a sustainable and resource-efficient society. The themes of both important dates are related and are very relevant to Indigenous and local community youth. And thus, we have today, in our own celebration, our very own theme, which is empowering Indigenous and local community youth for a sustainable world. Frankly, we're bombarded with these big words: empowerment, sustainable world, agents of change, self-determination, and even green skills. It seems like so much is expected from us, the young generation, more so from us as Indigenous youth. Perhaps the reason for this is that the global climate crisis has made it very clear why the youth is a critical sector. Our future is arguably bleak. Some might say the world is nearing an end, and our hope is upon the shoulders of the youth whose energy, enthusiasm, skills, and worldview should be harnessed for empowerment, development, and sustainability. However, our situation in Asia right now is difficult. Authoritarianism is on the rise, and the tyrannical rule of governments has worsened the state of our most vulnerable communities, like Indigenous peoples. In our case, for instance, here in the Cordillera, Philippines, the latest move by our government is to designate our Indigenous leaders as terrorists and to freeze the bank accounts of our organization, which is the Cordillera Peoples Alliance. We continue to assert our democracy and legitimacy, and we continue to affirm that we are Indigenous activists, we are not terrorists. Across Asia, many Indigenous activists and communities are also persecuted and vilified because of their activism. And when we look at this activism of Indigenous communities, we see that it's deeply rooted in the protection of our ancestral territories, our natural resources, and thus it is rightful to claim that us Indigenous peoples are far well versed in our green skills, and the Indigenous youth are key to the continuation and the preservation of such skills. How then do we empower our Indigenous and local youth amidst huge challenges posed by shrinking democratic spaces? I do not have one answer, and I cannot answer this question for all of us. This is what we need to collectively discuss, and we might not be able to resolve this today, but I hope our gathering can be a start to a sustained conversation and partnership among us. What I do want to say is the empowerment of Indigenous and local youth should be a unified intergenerational effort. I think this is a principle that our organizers share. Our empowerment should also involve the wisdom we can get from the experiences of our elders or from others who are significantly connected to the work we do. We are stronger when we are together. Please enjoy the messages that will be shared by our partners and colleagues. We expect your active participation and attention. And while we're doing this online, let's hope that we can meet each other face to face whenever or wherever that might be possible. Have a great day ahead, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you so much, Ned, for that very insightful speech. And I would also like to thank Salidumay for the prayer that they sang. Okay, so since I have many friends here with me, I would like to call on Febriani to join me in hosting for our first segment, the Voices of the Youth program. Febriani, are you there?
Hello, Kim. You can hear my voice?
Yes, very clearly.
Okay, it's good. Thank you, Kim. Hi, everyone. Good evening. I am Febriani, Barisan Pemuda Adat Nusantara, and I will be your moderator for our session together with Kim. Okay, without further ado, to discuss the key message of the Youth Movement Report, we have Sabarani Maharjan, an executive council member of ASEA Indigenous Youth Platform and Baghmati Provincial Youth Council, and a council member of the Youth Federation of Indigenous Nationalists. And hi, Sabah. Hi,
Hello.
Sabah.
Hi,
Hello.
Fabiani.
It's
Thank you
yours
very
when
much.
you come. It's 10
Yeah,
minutes, and I will remind you when the time will end.
sure. So, first of all, thank you very much, Fabiani, for the wonderful introduction that you just gave. And also, Zosalapa and Indigenous greetings to everyone. On August 9, we celebrated the International Day of World's Indigenous People. But today, I would like to wish everyone a happy International Youth Day. And also, today, I have this wonderful opportunity, to take you all through the youth mapping report of Asia Indigenous and Local Community Youth. So this report was actually initiated by Rights and Resource Initiative RRI in 2020 with the participation of various other organizations such as AIPP and RECOF, YFIN, AIYP, BPAN, and many other organizations that have contributed, by giving their key recommendation and input on this report. So also at the end of the presentation, I'm going to tell you when we'll be releasing this significant report as well. So I like to share my screen for now so that I can move forward with the key messages. Yeah. So, I belong from the indigenous community, but this report is for both indigenous and local community youth. So throughout the presentation, I'll be referring to both IP and LC as youth. Next slide, please. So the youth in Asia, have faced ongoing challenges regarding their rights and identity for an extended period of time now. And our territories are gradually being confiscated, and the younger generation is compelled to relocate. And we encounter this peril due to the militarization and armed conflict, which pose a significant threat to our land. We youth are now confronted with the harsh reality of being landless, and our entire way of life is profoundly being affected. And thus, we have developed a keen interest in defending our land and asserting our rights. So, what we, the younger generation, actually desire, is simply for our voices to be acknowledged and listened to. So the primary objective of this report is to provide a platform for young people from indigenous and local communities in Asia, to share their viewpoints and aspirations and concerns. And by documenting all of these experiences, the report actually aims, to ensure their voices are heard and included in the policy making and decision making processes. So, despite facing all of these multiple hardships, young people from the indigenous and local communities, they have shown a remarkable resilience and resourcefulness, in responding to all of the challenges facing them. So the report celebrates and highlights the initiative taken by the youth to support their community, to promote all of the sustainable practices, and especially preserve their land rights. Yeah, and the youth mapping report also delves into the critical situation that youth are facing on the ground level. It highlights their specific issues and obstacles. For example, we have earlier heard, we earlier, we heard from Net, the president of EIYP, how he mentioned in his video, about the difficult situation that they are facing in their country, that the Filipino government, how they designated the indigenous activists as terrorists, and how the youth are showing resilience by asserting their democracy and affirming that they are indigenous and not terrorists, right? So the insight and data gathered through the report can also, serve as valuable inputs for the policymakers and also the international organization to design, the targeted intervention and support the mechanism to address the need of the indigenous and local community youth in Asia, right? And it also serves as a powerful tool for advocacy, for policy making and awareness raising by amplifying the voices of the youth, like we always want. They are shedding light into the unique challenges we face. So next slide, please. Thank you. So youth have complex and diverse identity, and we often experience layers of systematic exclusion. And this has taught us, the value of inclusion, and we see the strategic value of the solidarity and the allyship in the fight for the collective and resource land rights. And youth from Asia and Afro indigenous youth from Afro descendant and local communities are very much now self-motivated to defend their land, their forest and territorial rights. So also in the coming session, we will hear from our fellow indigenous youth activists. For example, with us we have Philo from Indonesia. He is a young indigenous activist from Indonesia. So he will, in the further session, he will share on how, through smartphone and homecoming movement, they are running the campaigns to protect their land and develop their villages. So I'm very much excited for those upcoming sessions as well. And also, our elders are the traditional knowledge holders, and they can empower us to catalyze change in our communities and the world. So I am very much also looking forward to the closing ceremony, as we will be hearing from our elders, and they will definitely, guide us and bless us with their wisdom. And I think it is also the best opportunity for us youth to have the interaction with them. So we might as well get ready with all of the questions we have for them. So next slide, please. Okay, so we youth, we find ourselves, at a crossroad where we must delicately navigate, between the modern conveniences brought by the globalization, and the imperative to preserve and honor our unique cultural identities, right? So this balancing act, actually, it presents a complex and multifaceted challenge that impacts various aspects of the lives of the youth. And by drawing both our heritage and the opportunity of the modern age, we are shaping a future that respects and celebrates our cultural diversity. So now I'd like to move forward to the next slide to look at the key findings, a very important part here. So let's take a look at all of the key findings from the youth mapping report, right? So, our movement leaders, actually, they recognize the need to intentionally cultivate, the next generation of leaders to defend the hard-won rights and to continue our struggles and to protect against the intensifying threats that we are facing, right? And they have this deep experience and wisdom about supporting and mentoring and also empowering us upcoming youth leaders, right? And it is just that basically, we want to live in a world where youth no longer face the tragic fate of losing our lives solely because of our identity. And also, economic independence, it gives youth a sense of agency and self-determination, which can translate into increased engagement in the community development initiative and also the decision-making process. And this economic activity can help community withstand various kind of shocks and challenges that they face, right? And also, many indigenous and local community youth have faced colonization and also disposition of land, systematic discrimination, and most importantly, I'd like to emphasize on the intergenerational trauma. So I'd like to share my experience from my example that, I used to hear from my elders about the issue that they used to face, but now it has become my reality. So I belong from the ancestor of farmers, but at least that is what I have been told. But neither have I ever seen the farmlands of my ancestors, or nor have I ever seen them farming. So, this is the devastating scenario we are in right now. And so by being well informed about our rights, youth can actually challenge all of these kind of negative stereotypes and prejudices that might be perpetrated by others, and it helps promote understanding, respect and cooperation among different communities. So next slide, please. Yeah. So regarding decision making positions, I also like to share my experience right here, because recently the Bagmati provincial government of Nepal nominated me for the position of executive member of youth council in the Bagmati province. So, while working there and while being at the decision making table, what I have felt is that the stakeholders in Nepal, they are very much ignorant and also afraid to even incorporate the word indigenous or local community in the policy. So it is actually a far-fetched thing to assume that they will hear our concerns and issues, right? So thus we continuously fight for meaningful representation in all of these decision-making positions. So I'd like to move forward with my slides. Yeah, so I have touched upon all of the struggles that the indigenous and local communities are facing across Asia, and I've also mentioned about all of the key messages that we have come up with, we have found in the youth mapping report. So at the end, I'd like to say that therefore, after listening all of this, therefore, please listen to our voices without prejudice, and please join us in our fight. And now, next slide, please. Because I like to end in a positive note with a very exciting announcement that we will release our youth mapping report in October. So please stay tuned for that. Thank you very much for patiently listening to me. Thank you, Suvek. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Saba, for that very wonderful message from the ILC Youth. We all look forward for the release of the youth mapping report in October. So next, we have Apriliska Titahena, or her nickname, Ika, of Barisan Pemuda Adat Nusantara, or Bipan, Indonesia, an indigenous youth front of the archipelago, to elaborate more on the defense of land, forest, and territories. Go ahead, Ika.
Okay, thank you. I want to present about defending land, forest, and territory, but I permission for speech in Bahasa. Yap, saya akan membicarakan tentang bagaimana pemuda adat mempertahankan.
So I will be talking about how community members defend their land rights and also their forest and also their territory. So I am really glad, to be part of this event. We can see how youth of the indigenous communities all over Asia can share their experiences and stories. I would also like to share my story, to run movements to defend the forest and also the land of the indigenous peoples in my area. So this started when I was a child. I saw a lot of issues in my indigenous land. In my indigenous territory, there were land grabbings where timber companies entered our area, and we felt suppressed. And this impacted us. This caused concerns, and also we felt like we didn't have the right to have our rights there. We felt like we didn't have the right, for our land. So we went to school, we did a lot of things, but we felt like there was an imminent threat coming in, And I saw with my own eyes that during my childhood, the land of my parents My father was a farmer, and our land was used as an exploration area for nickel mining. So this really made me wonder, yeah, how come they didn't have our permission? They just entered our private land. We were lacking information at that time. Yeah? So I felt like it is really important. This is a serious matter. We need to defend our own land. We cannot depend on others to defend our land. As time went by, when I started my university, I saw the situation like permits for mining and also others for investment that didn't side with indigenous peoples occurred everywhere. So it was really harmful to us. That is why, as the youth, as part of the youth of the indigenous peoples who have the rights over our land, we have the rights to live on our land. So we started this movement to connect the members of the indigenous youth and also the elderly and also other elements. We tried to connect with each other so that we could gain the power to defend ourselves. It is because of love. We love our land. We love our identity. So we felt like our love is undescribable. We need to take action. We need to take action. Yeah, what can we do to realize our love to our country, to our land, to our forests, to our territories? Because we need to preserve this for our future generation. So we are connected between each other to run a movement to defend our rights, to defend our living space, starting from villages. It didn't start from something big, but it started from our villages. So we were taught to be connected between each other when doing something, yeah? So this communication between each other made this power become bigger and bigger. So I felt like the youth should be able to defend their land rights, the land that belongs to them. This is the future of our earth. This is the future of our earth is in our hands, yeah? So our future generation will not be able to have their rights if we cannot defend it from now, yeah? If we are proud about our identity, I don't think that's enough, yeah? But we need to take action. We need to maximize our roles as part of the indigenous peoples so that we can keep balancing humans and also nature. In our indigenous community in Seram Island in Maluku province, it is in the eastern part of Indonesia, we have indigenous knowledge that gives us information that humans should respect the nature. This is something that needs to be upheld. Humans should treat nature like their sibling, because nature comes first and then humans. So we need to treat nature just like we treat our family members or like we treat our brothers or sisters. So we indigenous peoples, we need to have honor, yeah? We need to believe that God created nature and humans, and we need to keep balancing this. Our identity is really important so that we can defend our rights and we can reclaim our rights. We must never let others come and grab our rights. We can live longer by preserving our local wisdom. We need to be proud of our identity because the balance in our nature can be realized if we can respect our local wisdom. So the youth should take action to take care of our indigenous territories. By doing so, we can achieve the balance between humans and nature. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Ika, for sharing such a wonderful experience to us. Okay, now, a member of the United Nations Secretary General's Youth Advisory Group on Climate Change 2023 to 2025 and co-founder of Polluters Out, she is also named as the Times Magazine Women of the Year 2023. Let's all welcome Aisha Sidika, who will be sharing land rights and climate advocacy.
Hello, I hope you can hear me. My name is Aisha. I come from a tribal community in Pakistan, and I currently have had the many opportunities to influence policy and structures of governance through advocacy. And today I'd like to share with you how I began this fight and how I became politicized in this fight. I think for local communities, which this is where I hail from, politicization starts at a very early age because when your land is taken away from you, when your resources are taken away from you, when you can no longer feed yourself, when there are health crises because of land grabbing, and you experience poverty, that is a politicization. So many communities like the ones I come from in this past century have experienced kind of poverty that we had never known before. And that is because even if our lands were not subjected to land grabbing or being stolen from us, the climate crisis in a matter of seconds has caused us to lose our crops, has caused those communities that live in the northern parts of Pakistan to experience glacial flooding and make our soil and our land impossible and infertile to plant food. And then with the construction of hydrochemical dams or the construction of industry around and near our water streams, even our water has become polluted. So for that reason, I can't pinpoint exactly when I became politicized, but everywhere I looked, in my family, in my community, there was like a suffering we couldn't get out of. To the extent that even if you learn the language of the country or or your colonizer, even if you pursued an education, even if you got a university degree, and like my dad became somebody who had access to knowledge, as you start earning commerce or as you start earning money and you bring it back, you realize that so many people need it. And so um, uh, um, changing over to monetary systems for a community like mine, when we accepted capitalism, when we accepted market-based economy, we accepted our defeat in so many ways, because we went from being able to be healthy and feed ourselves and clothe ourselves to being recognized as poor. So many Indigenous communities are going through this. They're going from being wealthy in resources, wealthy in culture, wealthy in knowledge, to being classified as poor because of capital, because of market-based economies, because we for centuries did not operate using money. And like I was saying before, even after my dad attained all of this education and became a breadwinner for a family like mine, he had to use that money to provide for all of his brothers and sisters. And so my community, we started changing our way of life. I think earlier speaker mentioned that she comes from a farming community, but she has not seen her farmlands, has not seen the act of farming. In my lifetime, my grandparents gave away so much of our land to sugarcane cropping, which is becoming quite prominent in the region that my family is from, so that we could sustain ourselves and have money. But we sold our land off in such a small price compared to how much it was worth, which is another part of this education component. Documents are written on our behalves. Communities sign on to these documents. They sign on to treaties, and the treaties are seldom explained to us. And seldom do we have the lawyers to like fight back when something inaccurate occurs. And so like there's just layers of injustice happening. Lastly, I think really in the context of eventually my family migrated, and by my family, my parents migrated because it was quite impossible to survive in our community with limited access to resources. Even like I was saying, even if you get an education, oftentimes you're discriminated against. Oftentimes, like you experience in your own country domestic like injustice, where you don't get jobs. If you're on your papers, like on your birth certificate, your tribal identity or your Indigenous identity is claimed, you are prevented from excelling. Like this systemic barriers occur. So my parents left and came to the US. And in around 2013, conflict in the Middle East region, which is also a greater part of Africa, just spiraled. And it became more than just internal conflict of like of different ethnicities or communities. Now we were experiencing the war on terror. And I think this is very important in my context, because this terror was unleashed on us. And I think it is very interesting that governments claim that people asking for clean air and water and just land rights are terrorists. But then when companies and other governments come in to steal your resources and oil, and then give arms and weaponry to people to like cause havoc, that is not, they are not considered as violent. And this kind of context is why I became politicized, because the Middle East region and parts of Asia are home to 1/3 of the world's crude oil. And Pakistan is quite complicated in its history, in its conflict resolution, its sovereignty, etc. But the war on terror resulted in blackouts. It resulted in like diesel and coal prices increasing. It resulted in violence increasing. And when all of these structural issues occurred, they affected urban communities less and rural communities more, because we couldn't even, at that point, we couldn't even afford diesel to go from one place to another anymore. Terrorism kind of increased and like dominated in rural communities and rural regions, and like that kind of fundamentalism also was brought into rural communities, because many communities were offered exchange of food and water to join like violent causes. And that was used against the rural communities. And so that's why it became politicized, because the context of the global north going into global south countries, like using our resources for oil, coal, palm trees, just like deforestation, in their wreckage leave behind so much violence. And I think that also leads me to talk into like why I continue this fight and where I get my strength from. Part of fighting or defending land and the planet for me is a spiritual responsibility. It's a spiritual responsibility for my ancestors as well. Because when you consider the river your relative, and when you consider all of the species around you, extensions of your family, protecting them is as important as protecting your biological mother and father when they are experiencing harm against them. And I often tell this to anybody living in a developed context or an urban context. If your faucet tomorrow stopped working and you couldn't get water out of your faucet, and if tomorrow your grocery stores shut down and you couldn't get food, you would fight for water too. You would fight to have access to food as well. Why is it different that when we do it, it is considered like obstruction? And not only that, but in the spiritual responsibility, it is how I was raised by my elders, in every ethos of how I walked as a little girl, how I took how I planted food as a little girl, how I used our resources, reciprocity, sustainability, all of these technical words that are used in jargon are actually our way of life. They're as integral to us as walking and talking and breathing is, because that's how we see the world. So that's where I get my strength from as well, because in me live all my ancestors. I believe that your spirit is composed of the people that came before you, and they are part of me. And so I channel their wisdom, and that is my strength as well. It's the people that I come from. And I am very lucky, honored, and privileged to be serving as a youth advisor to the UNSG. And how I got to this place is rather odd. My journey begins as a protest organizer. I actually used to sit in front of the UN headquarters with a like a sign that said "Declare a climate emergency," and it was me and my friends, and there were like 10 of us. And every Friday, we would sit in front of the UN headquarters and protest the UN. Today, I'm working as an advisor for the UN, but we were trying to get the parties and the governments engaged to do more about the climate crisis. And so as I started protesting, I began working with university students and high school students and encouraging them to also use their freedom of speech, which is abundant in a country like the United States. I think it's a responsibility if you can protest without getting hurt, and if you can use your voice, then you should. So we started mobilizing people in schools. Is that my
Isha, sorry. We're running out of time. We're really interested with what you're saying, but if you could wrap up.
Sure. Yeah. And long story short, my journey has been through student-led mobilization. It's been through educating my peers, and then in our collective power, attempting to influence policy and studying it, and teaching ourselves this policy. And over that course of time, we are able to have a lot of impact. And because we are able to have a lot of impact, we nominate people to serve in offices, and we nominate people to serve in different constituency spaces as our representatives. And that's how I've become part of the Secretary General's Advisory Council. It's actually because I was working with Archana. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Aisha. With a very short time, you have elaborated a lot of your experiences and sharing the inspirations to us, Indigenous and local community youth. So again, thank you, Aisha. And for that, we have learned a lot from you. So for our fourth speaker, we have Apsana Kafle, part of the board of directors of the RECOFC Center for People and Forests, and the regional representative for North America for both the International Forestry Students Association and the UNCCD Youth Caucus. She will be discussing the collective advocacy for land, forest rights, and governance. Apsana.
Thank you so much, Kim. Hello, everyone. And before I begin, I would like to acknowledge that today I'm joining from the Treaty 6 territories. That is the homeland of many First Nations and Indigenous and First People of Canada, whose continuous love and support and wisdom towards their land has made it possible that I and all of us could work in these territories and join you. As Kim introduced, my name is Apsana Kafle, and I am residing in North America, but I am from Nepal. And today I would like to continue my story about how I came from Nepal, and I'm on this journey of representing young people into the forestry and land spaces, especially with larger international organizations. Let me take the honor to share my screen, if it's possible. So I started my journey back in 2015 when the earthquake hit, and I was a 17-year-old teenager looking for a career prospect. And before I could understand anything, I was doing a volunteer for the Art of Living Foundation, which is a spiritual organization in communities that were building resilience from the forest that was around it before any kind of earthquake reliefs reached them. And this was enough for me to understand and convince that, yes, this is what I want to work in. I'm very passionate about people. I'm very passionate about working in the environment. So forestry sector is the one that is for me. And that is where I see myself. So if you see these patterns, and if you are a young people like in these spaces, you can see that I was always moved by engaging lots of communities, whether that's like young people, old people, people of multiple generations. And next slide, please. Where am I now is from that local part of Nepal. I am into in North America. Yes, I'm still doing forestry. I'm a full-time student, but I also represent those voices through spaces, whether that's through Recoft, where I'm representing the voices of young people in Asia Pacific into forest and environment spaces, or with international organizations like International Forestry Students Association or the United Nations Convention or UNCCD, where my job is to represent those voices from global South into these policy spaces. And now when I look back, a 17-year-old person from Nepal, was it easy for me? Not at all. Was I scared about all these things? All the time. But how am I being able to navigate is something that I want to share with you today. Next slide. So the first thing that really empowers me or that really helps me is mentorship. And with mentorship, I want to incline that it does not always come from people who are elder or more experienced than you. It can also come from peers, like people who are like us. And just a small experience is because I want to iterate this because the speakers before me, they did mention about the various things, our identities, how the global North have seen it. As a young person, when I came outside of my community, I was scared of my identity. English is not the language I speak. I go to certain rooms and see that I might be the only person of color, or I might be the only young person. So I was really scared and doubted myself, And when I shared this with my mentors, like a friend of mine, you know what she said once when I told her that I doubt myself a lot because others people, they don't look like me. I'm seen differently. And someone had to remind me that, Afsana, like you are one of the richest person in the room. You know why? Because no matter how much people from these spaces want to spend dollars, they can never have that experience, the live experience, the knowledge and the love that your community have towards you. That is enough for you to be so rich and embrace that. And that is something that I want to share with you all, is because we come from these spaces where there's tremendous wisdom, there's knowledge, there's so much love from our elders and from our community. So come that with confidence, that is an identity. Nobody can take it from you. Nobody can steal it from you. And then have those opinions on spaces. The second thing that I want to say is, as young person, if you are a young person like me, be curious to learn, but also show the commitment, walk to spaces and say that I am committed to working on it. You know why? Because oftentimes our problems have been shared by someone else and that they took it wrong. We should be the one who should be talking about our challenges, not somebody who should be talking on behalf of us. And show this commitment and passion that you are willing to work for your people, for our rights. And I would want to give an example is I met, just how I got into this position with Recoft is I met David in the World Forestry Congress in South Korea. And I said, David, I love people. I love working with community, and I am a professional forester. Tell me, how can I be on those spaces? I am willing to learn, and I'm willing to serve. If I need a PhD, I'm willing to do it. And that commitment got me, I think that commitment got me into the spaces, into many spaces that I'm taking today. And the last point that I want to share is something that I recently learned. If you look at the picture on the left, the guy who's sitting beside me, he's an Indigenous leader here in Canada, in British Columbia, who represent the entire the British Columbia First Nation Council. And I asked, the curiosity as a young person is, how do I stand and how do I bring from people? And one message that I learned from him is, for us, for young people, and if you come from Indigenous and local community, you know, our lands are our homelands. That's our houses. And it's very important for us to unite, you know, because if we are united, when people from outside, they come into our houses, we can treat them as a guest. But if they start moving our furniture in our houses, we will not spare them. And with this, what I want to say is, a lot of speakers today, they shared that not many of us know our rights, you know, like our position. So if you are standing, or if you see someone, young person who's leading these startups, or sorry, these movements, stand for them and take responsibility. You know, as a young person, as someone from Nepal, I have multiple intersectionality. And it's my responsibility that when I am into these big spaces, I should inform the other people about what our challenges are, what we are lacking, and how important it is for us to be represented on these spaces. But on the same side, it is also my moral obligation to take this message back to the other people of my people and inform about what's happening. You know, be that messenger and stand for each other. Because as young, and if you are somebody who's watching me from Global North, it's very necessary, because or someone like me who's residing in Global North, is sometimes we have those spaces and we have those opportunities. So with empathy, we should listen and be willing to have these conversations with someone else who has so much to say, you know, like the other speakers today. So with this, I'm cognizant of the time. I will want to say that we all are running in these spaces where we are fighting, you know, like for a global, for a more equitable world. We are in this climate injustice moment. And I want to say is, no matter wherever you are from, wherever you are representing, and no matter what skills you have, we all are a part of the puzzle, you know. We all have something to take and bring it forward and stand for each other and embrace what you have. It's because if we don't do it for ourselves, nobody is going to do it. And I would like to end my message here. Thank you so much for having me, and wish you all a very happy International Youth Day.
Okay, thank you, Apsana. Kim, you can hear my voice? I hope my voice will be heard.
Yes, we can hear you.
Once again, thank you, Apsana, for sharing your incredible experience. Your presentation on building solidarity and collective advocacy for land and forest rights has provided us with invaluable insight. And lastly, we have Laxmin from Nilgiris, particularly vulnerable tribal groups in India, to share about the preservation of traditional advocating for land and forest rights. And hello, Laxmin.
Greetings, everyone, and welcome. Thank you so much for joining me wherever you are today in the world. My name is Edith, and I am a student as well as an intern at the Rights and Resources Initiative this summer. While I've had such a fulfilling time learning so much about youth organizing in Asia, one of the most special moments of this internship is getting to connect with Lakshmi Akka. Lakshmi is a youth organizer and leader from the Nilgiris district of South India. She started under the wing of her Soba Akka as a tutor and has since then grown to broaden her skill sets to include things such as advocating in local government as well as empowering another generation of women through the youth group and women's group of Poniyar. She also is an artist and singer and creates music herself about land rights and recognition in both Tamil and Poniyar languages. She was kind enough to share her knowledge today about International Youth Day with subjects ranging from advice her Soba Akka has already given her, as well as things that people tell her when she goes into these villages to talk to them. Enjoy the interview.
வருவாங்க போவாங்க பட் சமுதாயத்துக்குன்ட்டு வேலை செய்யறதுக்கு ஒரு கொஞ்சம் பேர் தான் இருப்பாங்க. அந்த அந்த கொஞ்சம் பேர்ல நானும் ஒருத்தி. நான் இப்படி மாறதுக்கு காரணம் வந்துட்டு ஷோபாக்காவும் ஒரு காரணம் தான். வில்லேஜ்ல எல்லாம் போகும்போது பாப்போம் எதுக்கு இந்த மக்கள் வந்துட்டு இப்படி இருக்காங்க, என்னோட மக்கள் பத்தி எனக்கு தெரியுது இல்லையா, அது ஒண்ணு. அப்புறம் நான் யோசிப்பேன்னு சொன்னேன்ல, எதுக்கு இவங்க இப்படி இருக்காங்க, இவங்களுக்கு எதுவும் தெரியல, ஆஹ் எதுவுமே வந்துட்டு கவர்மெண்ட் கிட்ட வாங்குறதுக்கு தெரியல, கேக்குறதுக்கு தெரியல அப்படிங்கறதெல்லாம் வந்துட்டு நான் தெரிஞ்சுக்கிட்டேன். அதுக்கப்புறம் இவங்களோட வாழ்வியல் சொன்ன மாதிரி எங்களுக்கு வந்துட்டு வேற இடம் மாத்தி தரீங்களா அப்படின்னு கேட்பாங்க. அப்போ நீங்க வரதா இருந்தா கண்டிப்பா நாங்க மாத்தி தரோம் அப்படின்னு சொல்லுவோம். அப்போ நிறைய பேர் அந்த மாதிரி கேட்டவங்க இருக்காங்க. சோ அவங்களெல்லாம் நினைக்கும் போது வந்துட்டு இந்த மக்களுக்கு ஏதாச்சும் பண்ணணும் அப்படிங்கிற ஒரு எண்ணம் வந்துருச்சு. நான் வந்துட்டு மைண்ட்ல ஃபிக்ஸ் பண்ணுவேன் நானு, எனக்கு இது தெரியவே தெரியாது, நானும் நிறைய டைம் விட்டுட்டு போலாம் அப்படின்னு தான் நினைச்சிருக்கேன். ஆனா ஷோபாக்கா வந்துட்டு சொல்லுவாங்க, எவ்வளவு வந்துட்டு இது இருந்தாலும் வந்துட்டு நீங்க அது ஒரு சைட்ல வச்சுட்டு நீங்க உங்க வேலையை மட்டும்தான் பார்க்கணும் அப்படின்ட்டு நிறைய அட்வைஸ் எல்லாம் பண்ணுவாங்க. சோ அந்த அட்வைஸ் கேட்டு கேட்டு கேட்டே வந்துட்டு ஷோபனாங்கிறவங்க இருந்தாங்க, அவங்களுக்கும் எனக்கும் தான் வந்துட்டு நிறைய அட்வைஸ் பண்ணியிருக்காங்க. சோ இப்போ நிறைய நான் விட்டுட்டு போகணும்னு நினைக்கும் போது கூட என்னோட மக்கள் இருக்காங்களா, அவங்கதான் கண்ணு முன்னாடி வருவாங்க. அப்புறம் நான் திங்க் பண்ணுவேன், ஷோபக்கா வந்து படிச்சதுனால எங்க வேணாலும் போய் வேலை செய்யலாம், ஆனா நம்ம மக்களுக்கு எங்க வேலை இருக்கு இல்லையா. அவங்களுக்கு வந்து இங்கதான் வந்துட்டு நிறைய பேர் வந்துட்டு ஏமாத்தப்பட்டிருக்காங்க. அது மட்டும் இல்லாம நம்ம மக்களுக்காக நம்ம தான் வேலை செஞ்சாகணும், வேற யாரும் செய்ய மாட்டாங்க.
This has been so inspiring. It's been emotional, happiness, tears. It's been an emotional journey to hear you all. But all I want to say is I am so proud of each one of you. It's so important that we have this space where we are having this convening and we are being able to hear each one of you as youth leaders, your journey, because hearing from you is shaping our own experience and is shaping the journey of people to come forward. And this segment I feel has been so motivating that this is why we want to advocate as indigenous and local community youth, because there are friends of us out there in the different regions, in the different context. Even if they're experiencing such hardship, they're not giving up. We are not giving up. We are still there, standing still, advocating for our rights. So I just want to thank each of the speakers for your time. And now I would like to invite you all and take you to our next segment, which is networking and cultural exchange. And we want and welcome you all to engage in the chat. We want to know where you are joining from, who you are, and what work are you doing? But I have a special question I really want to know from each one of you. What is your favorite food? Is something which I'm really interested to know about. So now I think, I really need to again travel and find my friend. So now I'm really interested to take you to another new place to meet my friend. So are you all ready? I hear a huge yes. So let me take you to Indonesia to meet my friend Sifu.
Yes, thank you, Archana. Hi, everyone. I'm Sifu. I'm from Kaum Muda Tanah Air, Indonesia, or Indonesian Youth for the Homeland. So, like Archana said, this session is a networking and cultural exchange session. So, please write in the chat field about your name, origin, and country, maybe, or you can also tell us a little about your culture. So, yeah. Archana, are you there?
Yes, I am there, and I am gonna now link it like how things are going here. You heard from Ned, and then you heard from Sabah about the youth mapping report, and then we had all the amazing speakers sharing about their life journey. Now is the time for us to learn about how collectively our youth groups across regions are working on ground. This is the time to show, and this is the time to know what is happening on ground, how they are organizing themselves, how they are advocating, and what amazing work they are doing. I am personally really looking forward to this session, and I'm super interested because we have presenters from Indonesia and we have presenters from India. It's like two across different regions of Asia. So I would like to hand it over to Sifu to introduce our presenters.
Yeah, thanks Archana. So yeah, I'm going to introduce Barisan Pemuda Adat or BPAN or the Archipelago Indigenous Youth Front is Aman's autonomous wing organization established on January 2012 and incorporating indigenous youth at the age of 15 until 30 from 7 regions in Indonesia, Papua, Kepulauan Maluku, Bali Nusra, Sulawesi, Java, Kalimantan, and Sumatra, who are committed to BPN status. So yeah, for more details, we will invite BPN representative Philo Karundeng, who will explain about homecoming and smartphone movement. So Philo, I will give it to you. You have 10 minutes. Thank you.
Terima kasih, Sifu. Terima kasih, Archana. Selamat
Thank you, Sifu, and thank you, Archana. Good evening to my friends in Indonesia and to also other participants. My name is Philo Karundeng. I'm 21 years old, and I'm an Indigenous youth member from Minahasa, North Sulawesi. My activities in my hometown are taking care and also maintaining our indigenous territory. Yeah? So my hobby is playing with my phone, yeah. But sometimes I also make documentaries and also short movies with my friends. I'm actually part of Barisan Pemuda Adat Nusantara or BEPAN. When it comes to homecoming movement or what we usually call in Indonesian Gerakan Pulang Kampung, this is a movement from our indigenous youth, yeah. And they then engage with or ask their friends in the cities to come back to the hometown to take care of the indigenous territory. This awareness comes from the realization that many members of the youth start to leave their hometowns or their indigenous territory. So a question was raised, yeah, who would take care of their indigenous territory? Since this movement, many indigenous communities have started to initiate school, yeah. So they learn from their elderly, they learned about indigenous medication, rituals, and also others. So this was done to make sure that the youth in their community can still be connected with their ancestors, with their elderly, and their indigenous territory, and to maintain their identity as indigenous youth. Yeah. Now, with the development of the technology, we know that our children nowadays are really addicted to smartphones. Yeah. And also there is consumerism. So due to this, a new movement was born called smartphone movement. Yeah. So I have prepared some pictures for you. So this smartphone movement is a cultural movement initiated by the youth. This is initiated to preserve their land, their indigenous territory, started in Minahasa, my hometown. It was initiated by some members of the youth as part of their responsibility to the culture, yeah, so that we can be more aware of the development of technology. This is a movement because the awareness of using smartphones effectively is also an effort to take care of indigenous territory. So, or indigenous land, yeah, this awareness is raised in the members of the youth in the hometowns. Yeah, I believe you have friends in your hometowns who love playing with their gadgets. So smartphones are used as a medium to spread information, to disseminate information, to create movies, writings, and also graphic design. And we can also interact with many people anywhere, whenever we want. This is also part of the role of the social media. Yeah? In Minahasa, smartphone movement refers to the optimization of smartphones, because we know that smartphones can be used to write something, to take pictures, to create pictures, or to make pamphlets, and also others. Yeah, we can also make movies using our smartphone. This is one of the workshops initiated by indigenous youth. So we had this workshop in Ampleng, Minahasa, and the participants were the youth members in that area. In Minahasa itself, there are two things that are commonly done, yeah, through this smartphone movement, which is writing and also making movies. But training for taking pictures and also making graphic design has also been done. Yeah, many youth members use smartphone as multimedia, such as making movies. Yeah, in the hometowns in Minahasa, there's so many youth members who are interested in making movies through smartphones. They make like short, funny movies, cultural activities in their hometowns. This all is done through smartphones, yeah, and they can also get the applications easily, yeah, on the App Store. So their work in the form of movies and also writing can really give a big impact, yeah, to their hometowns. Minahasa, in my hometown, there's so many people influenced by their work using smartphones. Yeah, so many people have chosen to use smartphone. Yeah, so this can be considered as a movement. When smartphones are utilized in a creative way, so the movement to develop and to also maintain and take care of the indigenous land can be more effective. Yeah, so we can make use of smartphones for good use. Yeah, so the idea of the smartphone movement was initiated in the hometown, yeah, by the Minahasa youth. We started to use smartphones to take care of our hometown. We also preserve the culture like farming, hunting, and we also use smartphones, yeah, to trace our ancestors' heritage. Yeah, we have been to the forest, to the sea, anywhere. Yeah, so this spirit and these ideas have made this movement important. Yeah, in other movements throughout Indonesia. Yeah. So greetings to members of Barisan Pemuda Adat Nusantara attending this Zoom meeting. Yeah. So the vision to come back to the hometowns to take care of the indigenous land and also territory. So this has been done by many members of the youth, yeah, such as Barisan Pemuda Adat Nusantara. Yeah? So this can also be used to tackle issues like one-sided claims, yeah, from other parties. And with the internet connection, the work in the form of art or movies can be utilized, yeah, to reclaim the indigenous land and also territory. And the utilization of smartphones is also an effective way to tackle or to get rid of the thought that indigenous peoples are not knowledgeable or underdeveloped, for example. So this movement is to develop the indigenous peoples all over Indonesia. Yeah. So previous slide, please. The previous slide. So based on the slides that I have shown to you, there are some activities carried out by the smartphone movement. So this is one of the examples on how youth members in Minanga can really show their community that they are often stigmatized, that they are just kids, they are just youth members who don't know anything, but they can prove them wrong, yeah, by creating or making movies. They have shown their creativity and their efforts in organizing a movie festival with their network. So this film festival invited local filmmakers and also other community leaders, yeah. And this has garnered a lot of praise, yeah, and appreciation from community members, and also their parents finally realized that these youth members are doing something big. Yeah, they are creating a masterpiece, yeah, by using their smartphone. So it is not a challenge, yeah, for the youth members to be agents of change.
Sorry. This is really interesting about the social media and the gadgets, yeah. But we have to wrap up the program or your part.
Yeah.
Sorry. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Kim.
Yeah, you have 2 minutes more to
Oh, okay.
wrap up your
Okay. So, ya, melihat teman-teman kita yang tadi,
So yeah, looking at the other youth members here, we as youth members should realize that we can be agents of change. We can make something creative because we are the youth, yeah? We can do something that cannot be done by others. And the message for the indigenous youth, we should never forget our hometown. And thank God, this smartphone movement can tackle colonialism, yeah? The stigma is that we are considered primitive if we live in villages or hometowns, yeah? But through this smartphone movement, we would like to show people that people living in villages or hometowns are always updated with the latest technology using smartphones, yeah? And also we can always get news, yeah, and keep fighting to all the youth members in the country and all over the world. Greetings from Minahasa. Arribeto. Thank you.
Thank you.
Really inspiring. Sipu and myself has been like so inspired by this, isn't it, Sipu?
Yes, Archana. So maybe we don't have much time.
Yeah, and this brings me to an important journey and shift from Indonesia to bringing you all to India, and it's an immense honor for me to introduce you all Dhartri collective from India. It's a collective of 16 young women coming together from different identities, and all I want to say about them is they are so inspiring. It has personally inspired me. I recently met them, and one thing which I have learned from them, which I would like to share before they present, is that we all are like a free bird. Let's fly high together. So they will be sharing about their Pahada Dalan exhibition, embracing, sharing about their identity, cultures on issues like pastoralism, land and gender issues. So everyone put your hands together for Dhartri Collective from India.
नमस्ते, मेरा नाम मनीषा है और हम लोग धारचीड़ी ग्रुप की तरफ से जुड़े हुए हैं आज। मैं रिक्वेस्ट करना चाहूंगी अगर आप हमारा पीपीटी शेयर कर सकें।
My name is Manisha, and I would really like to request if you could share our PPT with everyone.
थैंक यू। हमारे ग्रुप का नाम धारचीड़ी
Thank you.
है।
We are a Dharchini
मैं सबसे
collective,
पहले बताना चाहूंगी हमारे ग्रुप के नाम का।
and I would like to
तो धार का
tell
मतलब
meaning
होता है
about our
पहाड़
work.
और चिड़ी का मतलब है चिड़ी।
Dhar
पहाड़ों पर
is
रहने वाली
mountain
चिड़िया
and
को
Chidi
धार
is a
हम
bird.
बोलते हैं।
We call ourselves that we
हमारी
we are a mountain bird.
अगस्त 2020 में हुई
We
थी
have started
उस समय
this
हमारे
group in
ग्रुप के
August 2020.
मेंबर थे और
We were 9
अभी हमारे
members
ग्रुप
in
के
our
अभी
group,
16 सदस्य हैं जो कि अलग-अलग जगहों से
and now we are a total 16 members.
हम लोगों
We
ने
have
यहाँ
different
पर
identity,
किया था
and
उस
we are from different communities.
समय हम लोगों ने हमारे आसपास जो हमें ऐसा लगता है कि महिलाओं के जीवनों की
We have started this group, and we also started about the talking about lives of women around us, and what kind of a challenges they face. We have selected the issues in a way
जो हमने मिलके किया
that we could actually raise our voices around these issues and present to other people through exhibition.
और उसके बारे में
We have started this group, which Archana
तो आप
explained
जा
and
सकते हैं। हेलो सबको,
about
मेरा
us.
नाम अदिति है।
My name is Aditi. Could you please go to the next slide?
नेक्स्ट स्लाइड प्लीज।
Next slide, please.
हाँ, तो मैं थोड़ा सा आप सबको बताऊंगी इससे पहले जो प्रीवियस स्लाइड था।
Please, previous slide. I would like to explain about the
आपको थोड़ा सा बताऊंगी हमारी जो एग्जीबिशन है। तो जैसे मनीषा ने बोला
traditional
हमारा
clothes
जो ग्रुप है
and our exhibition.
कुछ करने लगे थे अलग-अलग मुद्दों पे जो हमारे
We started our research and different and exploring different issues around our lives, and we really wanted to present our findings or our experiences through exhibition. We wanted to tell the stories of our women, Gaddi community, women from Gaddi communities, and other members from different communities. Also, women member wanted to share our stories.
पहाड़ा दालान जिसका मतलब है पहाड़ों में पहने जाने वाला वस्त्र या कपड़ा।
Haradan is a cloth, which is a traditional cloth, which is the black and white cloth is a gardu. Gardu ya gardi is a woolen garment traditionally made at home, and it's a quite a long process. And we wanted to we wanted Vedu Gardi is made by Gaddi communities and used by these communities. This is very common in the mountain areas, and you can see anyone. So
this is made among the Gadi community in the area, and we wanted to know what is the role played by women in this. What are their stories? So we started organizing this exhibition, in which through which Garuda was not just a cloth. So many stories came out, which were related to environment, which were related to change. All the hidden stories related to women. That was the purpose behind organizing this exhibition. So now we'll talk about this exhibition in more detail. My name is Bindu.
गरुड़ू की स्टोरी जो स्लाइड है इसमें हम देख सकते हैं कि गरुड़ू गरडी के ऊपर एक महिला का एक फॉर्म दिख रहा है जो कि एक पहाड़ी महिला का दृश्य है। अक्सर हमने देखा होगा कि माउंटेन एरिया में वुमेन्स की उनकी बैक पर डिफरेंट लोड्स होते हैं। हम देखते हैं कि उठाते हैं वो, और बैग पर काफ़ी हैवी पाइल होते हैं, जिसमें कि ग्रास का लोड होता है या वुड का बंडल होते हैं या फिर रो वूल होती हैं, रो वूल के सैक होते हैं। तो ये जो रो वूल होती है वो पहाड़ी हाउसेस में इसको खुद प्रिपेयर किया जाता है। लाइक साथी ने जो बताया दी थी ना, जो भेड़ बकरियों की ऊन होती है, तो जो ये रो वूल होती है उसको पहाड़ी वुमेन जो हाउसेस में वो वुलन क्लॉथ बनाती हैं, तो जिसको कि इंडिजिनस गद्दी कम्युनिटी बनाती हैं। और पहले के समय में जो गरडू के लिए जो वूल की सफाई करते थे वो हाथों से की जाती थी, और उसके बाद वुलन को जो था वो वुडन कॉम से स्पिनिंग किया जाता था। लेकिन अभी प्रेजेंट के टाइम में देखें तो जो हाथों से जो काम किया जाता था उसकी जगह मैकेनाइजेशन ने ले लिया, मशीनें ले ली है। तो अभी जो क्लीन किया जाता है वो मशीनों का दोबारा किया जाता है। तो जो हाथों की जो कारीगरी थी वो खत्म हो चुकी है या खत्म हो रही है। अभी ये जो बनाने का जो प्रोसेस है गरुड़ू गरडी को, ये कोई सिंपल प्रोसेस नहीं है। इसमें छोटे बड़े कॉम्प्लिकेटेड और जो इंक्लूड रहते हैं प्रोसेस, जिसमें कि टाइम, पेशेंस, प्रिसीजन एंड स्किल्स पे ये बेस्ड होता है। और इसकी जैसे शुरुआत जो होती है कि जब भेड़ बकरी चरते हैं ऊंचे पहाड़ों पे, तो वहां से इसकी शुरुआत।
When the sheep go to the process of making this Gardu and Gardi is not documented anywhere in written form. When you look at the process, most of the processes are done by women.
Thank you. So sorry.
So in this process, which is done by women largely, it involves fetching water, fetching wood, using firewood, or turning this wool into round balls. So in the discussion of Gaudo Gardi, we talked about the involvement of the women, and the contribution of women is never recorded in this. For example, the skills that women use is not documented anywhere. They are not recognized as innovators or artists, although this process requires a lot of skills. So in the process, what we are trying to do is that the burden of that the women are following silently should be done away with, involving some amount of to the stories of women, and we want to raise this as a women's issue. These are some of the images of stitching and embroidering to depict the stories of women who do this work. Hi, my name is Anjali, and this is also part of Paradalan, in which we have shown labor of women. What all work is done by women in within their houses. There, the main issue was that work should not only be the work which is paid, because a lot of the work done by women is unpaid work done at home by the women. So, in this effort, we have shown work as emotional, physical, and as well as emotional, and as well as mental. So in this scene, we have shown the emotions attached to the work done by women, the physical effort goes into this thing, the how their hands and legs look after doing this work. Thank you. These are some pictures that were taken by members of the group in the mountainous area, in the hilly area, of women who do work in the houses and outside. This is the third exhibition, art exhibition we had. This is called What is Behind the Window. As you can see, this may look like a gardu, but actually it's a market blanket. It's an artificial, it's a fake gardu actually, which is available in the market. And we have carved out some windows in this, and behind this window you can see stories which are related to the hilly areas. Some stories are about how the mountains are changing in the name of development. If the mountains are eroded, if there are no pathways, grasslands to graze animals, those stories have also been included here. There are some women stories also here which are hidden. You can see stories about periods and menstruation of women. Uh, uh, where do women go and dry their undergarments, stories related to that, and many things about which we got of silence within our communities and society. So our effort was that whoever comes to the exhibition, they should come and they should touch these windows, they should open these windows, they should remove the curtain from those windows, and then they should so a lot of people come and they used to tell us that this is my story, and on a lot of occasions I don't talk about these experiences. So it was a very interesting experience for us. In the next slide, we'll show you what was behind those windows in the exhibition. This is the fourth section of our exhibition. This is an audio-visual section which shows the process of weaving Garudu. In an attempt to show the process of making Garudu, we made a film on the process of making Garudu, which was explained earlier by Bindu. So we tried to show this process as part of a film, and we projected it on a woven carpet or a bedsheet, which was made by the Gadi community itself. And the process of weaving these kind of carpet, the traditional objects or tools that are required to weave these sheets or these carpets or other tools which are used in these art forms, whether they are whether it's carpet weaving or bedsheet weaving. We located all these objects, these tools. We try to understand their functionality. Who uses these objects? Do women use them or do men use them? We try to understand those things, and in the process, we try to understand what is happening. What is happening to this art form within the Gaddi community? Why are these? Why are the communities losing these art forms? Because of the marketization, many such objects, many such artifacts are losing their utility. The traditional wool is being replaced by merino wool. So all these things we try to understand through this exhibition, and then we try to show all those things as part of the video. And along with that, we also did some activities related to theater. And in the process, we try to give some voice to all these tools and objects so that they can tell their own story. They can tell to the next generation that at one point, who used to do this work? How was this work done? How are these objects being used? So you can see this process in much more detail in the next slide. How the wool is woven, how the thread is made out of wool, how the wool is cleaned, how the wool is felt, how the felting of the wool is done, and how the tools and equipments are used. You can see a shuttle on the top, how that shuttle is used in the process of weaving itself, and how these objects are embedded within household items. In the traditional houses, you can see these things, but in the modern houses, these things are going away. Hello, my name is Pooja. Our exhibition was not at just one place, it has traveled many places, Kanwani, and many other places. It has traveled to 7 different locations. And if any of you want to see our exhibition, you can invite us to your location and we will come with our exhibition and exhibit it there.
So inspiring. I would like to specially mention that this exhibition is an entire day exhibition. This exhibition is an entire week exhibition. This exhibition is for at straight 3 days, 4 days. I am so humbled and grateful to the team for sharing a brief insight about this in just 10 minutes. I know we have not done justice to you, but I would like to thank you all for sharing your knowledge, and I would also like to propose, I want to ask a question. Do you want to know कि खिड़की के पीछे क्या है? What is behind the windows? Do you all want to know? I see there are a lot of chats coming in and hands being raised, hearts being coming out. I want to know what is behind the window. What are the things and the issues which is kept behind and when it comes to women? And I would propose that we have these sharings of these groups amplified in our social media. So tomorrow when we celebrate International Youth Day, we are welcoming Dhartri group to share their exhibition images, and we will do our homework of following all our websites and knowing and learning from them. So everyone put a huge round of applause for the Dhartri team joining us from India, and we are so happy and grateful to have you amongst us. Thank you for sharing your knowledge, wisdom and everything you do. So now I would like to call upon and hand it over to our next segment. So hand it over to Deepak and Simran. Deepak, there you go.
Hi, thank you, Archana. It's so nice to be here. I'm so grateful. Thank you so much. So, here we go. I'm Deepak Minch from India, Council Member of AIYP, Asia Indigenous Youth Platform. And I'm not alone here. So let me introduce my friend. So as we go ahead, let me take you to Nepal and meet my friend Simran. Hi Simran.
Okay, so hello Deepak. I am Simran. I'm from Nepal. I am a indigenous youth activist and I belong from the Neva community from Nepal. So yeah, that was it from me. I hand it over to you.
Thank you Simran for your introduction. So without any delay, let us take this segment forward, and I would also like to speak a few things about this segment. Listening to our elders as a window into self-knowledge as well as knowledge about the world is one of the key messages which have come out strongly in the youth mapping report as presented by my colleague and friend Sabha. which has also been emphasized and highlighted by our youth leaders throughout the event. And as we take it to the closing ceremony of the event, it is an honor for me to invite our key speakers who have supported us, guided us, and a huge source of inspiration. We are blessed to have them amongst us today. So I would like to introduce the speakers of the segment for today. We have with us Gam Simre, Secretary General of Asia Indigenous Peoples Pact, AIPP. He has been working on Indigenous peoples issues since 1993 in multiple roles across nation, religion, and global levels, and holds a critical insight on it. We welcome you, Gam. We also have with us Dr. David Gans, Executive Director of Advocacy. David is a strong advocate for community forestry in the region and for path-breaking private sector models that respects local rights and delivers lasting and tangible benefits for millions of hectares of community forest in the Asia Pacific region. We welcome you, David. We have with us Dr. Solan Bandiaki Bazzi. She is coordinator of Right Resource Initiatives, RRI, a global coalition of over 150 organizations advancing the rights of indigenous peoples, local communities, and Afro-descendant peoples. She also serves as president of the Rights and Resource Group, the non-profit coordinating body of the coalition based in Washington, D.C. We welcome you, Solange. So without any further delay, I welcome Gam to share his perspectives on the theme, Passing the Torch to the Youth. Gam, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much, Deepak. And also thank you all for allowing me to be part of this very wonderful program. Today, I would like to speak on something that may not be very popular in terms of the topic in a professional life, but something very close to our worldview and culture. And therefore, I would like to speak about participation relating to our social, cultural, economic, and in the spiritual sense, what it means to indigenous peoples. First is that we must remember to remember our roots, because it is participation in artistic forms, music, dances, and stories, etc., that helps us to remember our roots and identity. And we celebrate them, but it is not just about enjoyment, but to also create meanings collectively through this kind of a celebration process. In this sense, participation has a deep meaning, because it is in the participation that we see our knowledge, wisdom, and spirituality coming together to create something that is whole, or something that is more complete. This means that we are creating things that are good, and what is good is not fragmented, but it is always a whole, and this determines our well-being. And it is for this reason that in many of our indigenous spirituality, we say that good behavior is all that we need to receive the blessings of the benevolent creator and the spirits, And it is through good behavior that we create what is good for the community and for ourselves. So it is through this good that our identity emerges, that encompasses the agency of the self and the collective selfhood that we keep talking about, and the well-being, or the well-being of the community, right? But how do we come to this? And I think this is really what is very important that I wanted to share further, is that in our indigenous community, we know that our original way of thinking and accruing community values starts from the family. When we are born, we live a mystic life that is mysterious and in the mist kind of a thing, right? But as we grow up, we become clear about who is our mother, who is our father, and we become clear about who are our ancestors and who are our grandparents and so on, right? And that's how one of you also sharing that in the spirit, we are always connected. And through this family, this is what we acquire. And then that's how we go through these rites of passage. And then what today we'll refer to as teenage life, or the age of a teen, when we reach, we are prepared to take on the responsibilities. We begin our life mission in the community, and in that we are prepared. Up to the age of maybe 25 years or 30 years, we're rigorously trained and we learn, and it also includes peer-to-peer learning. And our elders also learn from the youth, so it's never a one-way traffic, right? Because indigenous communities must adapt, and that's only by learning. So elders also learn a lot from the youth. That's why in some of my communities from the tribe that I come from, they prepare the youth rigorously for this long period with a leadership cycle of 30 years, so that we do not run out of leaders. And these leaders do not just acquire the position by hereditary or something like that alone, but merit and acquirement of those values and this vision and the worldview becomes so critically important that it is really part of the leadership qualities that we must see in our communities. No? So in this sense, what I'm trying to say is that our communities, in most of our communities at least, we draw our strength from the youth, and we know this very well as part of our worldview. And because we are clear that we secure the future of our generations through our children and youths, and without the youth, therefore, a good future is not possible. So we don't talk about saving the world and saving the climate, etc., by forgetting our own youth and our own children. That is essentially the message that we have in our traditions. No? So therefore, in this context, when we say passing on the torch, means we are passing on this flame that represents our well-being and continuity of our life traditions, worldview, and the life systems that we have grown up with. No? And this flame is eternal and never consumed. And the youths are the heart of this energy that is continuously passed on. And therefore, this is a very important part of our wisdom and tradition, where we must first give priority to our youth. And in many places where these kind of systems are breaking down, are not happening, this is quite unfortunate. I recognize that. But this is also the effort that we're trying to fill in. And this is also where AIBP, for example, is trying to play a role, right? And of course, I'm very much happy to see that more and more youth from this region are emerging to take on the torch, and already are the shining lights for many people. And that is really encouraging for all of us. So thank you very much for listening, and congratulations to all of you.
Thank you so much, Gam Simre. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. And we are the people that are actually grateful to have you here. Thank you so much for such inspiring words. And now we'd like to move forward with our program. And I'd like to call our speaker, Dr. David, to speak on green skill, land rights, and governance. So there you go, David.
So good evening, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, depending on what side of the world you're in. It's a pleasure to be here. It's an honor to be here. It's always hard to speak after Gam. so my colleague from AIPP. I did have some words already crafted, but I'm going to throw them out the window because I am so inspired by what I've heard today that I'd like to capture just some key words, starting with Ned. Ned said in his opening remarks that we're really here to rejoice in an intergenerational dialogue. So I happen to believe that I'm not so old. This idea of intergenerational is, it wasn't so long ago that I was also a young person. But I'm supposed to be here to give inspirational words on green skills, on governance, on land rights. I also want to touch on something Ned talked about in his opening. He said that it's very challenging for the youth of today. There's so much pressure on them. He used certain words. He called them the weight of these words: empowerment, sustainable world, self-determination, agents of change. Obviously, green skills was also something he touched on as one of these important UN dialogues for this year. And there is a lot of weight on the youth of today, I have to say. If you look at the climate change COP, the Conference of Parties, or the Biodiversity COP in Montreal, both really put a lot of emphasis, not just on youth, but on Indigenous peoples and local communities. So Saba also called upon all of us as youth, and she was very careful not to differentiate between Indigenous youth and local communities youth. We are all youth, we are all one, and we are behind you 100% of the way. I think ultimately, one of the things I wanted to make sure to tell you all is you're not alone. This weight doesn't belong to you and you alone. This is our shared burden and our shared dream to make this a better world for all of us. When I was young, or when I was youth, if you want to use that term, I also felt the weight of the world. There were forest fires, earthquakes, drought, you name it. Climate change certainly was not a mainstream word, but just as Apsana talked about earthquakes, I remember going through a very strong earthquake. I remember going through droughts. I remember going through forest fires. And ultimately, I went into forestry with the ambition to change the world. I'm still holding on to that ambition, and I hope you all will have that same ambition. I had parents that came from very poor background. My great-grandparents were kicked off their land. The land was taken from them. And so my parents wanted me to be a doctor or a lawyer, or, using some of the words of Aisha, they wanted, a capitalistic mindset. Your son, you have only one son, needs to go into a high wealth profession. So when I said I wanted to go into forestry, you can imagine what the response was. Aisha also talked about the pressures of a market-based economy and how we profile people and put them into boxes. My great-grandparents never felt that they were poor. My dad said that everyone in the family grew up poor, but they never felt poor, and they never certainly said that they were poor. And even though they came from very honest and humble roots, agricultural societies, that concept of poverty is really a global concept that has been pushed down on agricultural systems, and some of which is not just, some of it's not right, some of it actually tries to take away your roots, your culture, and I really embrace the leaders today and what we're talking about in terms of maintaining that culture. I also just want to close by saying green skills are very important. We're moving towards a green economy in many parts of the world, but green skills doesn't mean you have to get a forestry degree as Apsana did or I did. You can work on the green economy in many different ways, and you can have green skills in a wide variety of disciplines. To work on the green economy also means that you need soft skills. And ultimately, an organization like Recoff really focuses on some of those soft skills. And Philo showed us in Indonesia the importance of technology, the importance of these soft skills, not just moving away from what the technology can bring to us, but also adapting the technology to embrace your culture and really maintain a cultural movement using the technology in ways that we haven't done before. So I encourage you not just to think of professional aspirations in terms of skill sets that are technologically driven or maintained by academic disciplines, but also think about the soft skills, the facilitation skills that are really needed to move us into the next generation. Last but not least, as Gal mentioned, leadership skills. I mean, these are things that you learn from your mentors, from your colleagues, from your peers. As Apsana also mentioned, it's not just what you learn from your teachers or your elders. You can also learn leadership skills from your peers. And it's very important that we emphasize the importance of leaders and the next generation and cultivate leaders in ways that we haven't done in the past. And I encourage all of you to use this platform, to use your voice, to get into these international circles that are really key to have a strong voice, as Aisha has done, as many of you have already done, to make sure that that space is given to you in respectful and honest fashions, and that you are, quote unquote, empowered in ways that we haven't seen before. So the voice of youth is not just important in a picket line or in a protest, but also in the governance systems of these institutions. So we need to see ultimately board of trustees, companies starting to embrace youth as part of their boards. We are doing this ultimately at Recoff, but we hope other organizations will also follow suit and take on board seats and give youth really an honest voice in governance structures, not just on the front line. So thank you again for a wonderful evening. This has been an honor to be here. It's been an amazing platform. This is not just about learning about the youth mapping initiative, but what's next, and a call to action for all of us. So thank you very much.
Deepak, you're muted.
Hi, can you hear me, guys?
Yeah.
I got
Yeah, we hear you.
Go ahead, Deepak. We hear you.
Thank you. So thank you, David, for taking us through the experience of your youth days and also revising us for the today's event, taking us through the revision. So thank you, David. And I now call upon Dr. Solange to share her thoughts on inclusive and intergenerational coalition building. So the floor is yours, Dr. Solange.
Well, thank you very much. And first, let me say it is my pleasure and an honor to be here today to celebrate Youth Day with such a passionate and inspiring group of young leaders from Asia and across the world. I could see from the chat that there are people joining, young people joining from Latin America and from Africa. So it's just very inspiring to see that. This also brings me back to my early days when I was a student in Senegal, West Africa. But also, like many of you, my childhood may have lacked modern luxuries that we have in the West, but was rich with strong community values and social ties. And I think those community values and social ties that we find in indigenous communities, local communities, Afro-descendant communities, are those values that we take as young leaders. And these values, to me, also have been part of my life when I was young, being a volunteer at Senegal YMCA, where I was doing youth organizing visit to women in prison, organizing summer planting tree camps. And I know many of you are doing amazing work in your communities and in your countries. And it's also what had led me to really my role right now at RRI as the president and coordinator. And I must confess that when I was a young organizer in Senegal, I never thought that I would leave Senegal, let alone being the president of a global coalition. Just to say that you, as youth organizer, you are the next generation of your community leadership, country leadership, regional leadership, and the global leadership. So young organizers, young people in the global south have a key role to play at the global level. And I believe that what I'm seeing right now, what you're doing, and where you are playing a key role in different institutions, then to me, it's give me hope that there's a lot more that we can do with young people. Then I think based on this conversation, really, what I would say is that more than ever, we need youth voices to combat today's environmental crisis. For this, we need a new generation of leaders. We need international coalitions that bring together youth who are willing to listen and learn from the elders, and also elders who are ready to change and grow their own knowledge. So it's a mutual learning. It's not just the youth learning from the elders, but the elders also learning from the youth. And I do consider myself as a young elder, so I'm part of both. But also to say that the intergenerational knowledge exchange and leadership cannot work in isolation. And the reason why I'm bringing this example is that I'm just taking the case of RRI, which is a global coalition of working with indigenous peoples, local communities, and Afro-descendant. And to say that movement building, coalition building is really key. Just taking a few examples. For example, when we talk about women, indigenous women's rights, local community women's rights, or Afro-descendant women's rights, we know that it's important to work closely with men. And I could see here this platform, how young men and young women are engaged, working together, really pushing for the recognition of the rights of everybody, including men and women. So this is something to really keep in mind moving forward. Men and women need to work together. And really, when you talk about the rights of indigenous people, local communities, it goes hand in hand with the rights of women's rights. And another thing is that it's not easy to work as a movement, right? And as a coalition. I'm not teaching you anything, I'm sure. As you're working even to organize this event, you could see the diversity and how to bring people together is not easy. But there are core foundations of building a successful coalition. We have learned at RRI that, respect, empathy for others' limitation, patience, and a shared love for the cause are really key principles and core foundations. The same foundations work in building intergenerational coalitions and leadership. And I think everybody, all the speakers today talked about it. Elders often focus on youth needing to be open to their guidance and wisdom, but they must also be open to the leadership of youth. And just maybe to finish, I will just say that, we as elders or young elders, we have to accept youth where they are on their journeys. We need to show them love and support and welcome them in our fold. If we model this kind of openness, we will also find youth more open to our wisdom. And this is something that we at RRI as a global coalition, working with Advocacy, with AIPP and extended partners and collaborators in Asia, Africa, and Latin America, we want to come up with a youth strategy. And to me, I'm thinking as a president in my tenure, if I don't engage with youth, I will not succeed. If I don't come up with a youth strategy for the coalition, then as a coalition, we would not succeed. And there are really issues that need to be brought up front, but also the youth strategy within RRI and everywhere should be designed by youth, led by youth, and also implemented by youth. So it has to, there's an ownership. Our role as elders or institution should be facilitation role, but the leadership role should be by the youth and really like for the youth. So I'm really, just to say that I'm really excited to be here, and I could see that there's a lot more that we could do together moving forward. And I'm looking forward to more opportunities and to engaging with all of you. And again, thank you very much. It has been a very lovely event and very inspiring.
Thank you, Dr. Solange. It was so inspiring and motivating for us. And we would like to take this opportunity to thank all our three elders, the speakers, those who made our day today for with the joining in our celebration of this International Youth Day. So I would like to take this opportunity to thank Gam, David, and Dr. Solange for their presence in this celebration. And now, taking forward, I would like to invite Kim and Simran to share about the social media call to action. Thank you. The floor is yours, Kim and Simran.
Okay, so hello again. Since I've already introduced myself, I'm not going to do that again, but I'm going to move forward with the session. So we already know the power social media holds, and the power it holds to reach out to a broader audience. So that is what we are going to be doing tomorrow. We are going to be joining hands, and we're going to be writing a message tomorrow on 12th of August. So before that, I am going to invite you all to celebrate the International Youth Day. And you can feel free to check out the Facebook pages of Asia Indigenous Youth Platform, RECOF, Asia Indigenous Youth Peoples Pact, BIPAN Indonesia, Kota Indonesia, and Rice and Resource Initiative. So since we continue to experience discrimination and violation towards our rights, especially us indigenous and local communities, let's join hands together and advocate for our rights together tomorrow. And for the further explanation, I'd like to invite my friend Kim and hand over this imaginary mic to her. So Kim?
Thank you so much, Simran, for that introduction. And for tomorrow, as we celebrate the International Youth Day 2023, as part of our collective initiative of Asia Indigenous and Local Community Youth, we will be launching our campaign, Youth Message to the World. So how can we join this campaign? We kindly post a picture of you holding a written call of the indigenous youth. It was digital. It may be a digital picture or a written call in paper or cartoon, as is feasible and comfortable to you. The message can be written one word or one sentence. The message you want to share the world. It can be defend ancestral lands, dam the dams, no to mining projects, and so much more that you would like to write. You may use the hashtag International Youth Day, and we hope to see your beautiful faces as we celebrate the International Youth Day tomorrow. So as we close the program for today, I will call on Archana to propose the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Kim. And it's been an amazing and super inspiring event. And as in the beginning itself, we had shared that this is an initiative of Asia Indigenous and Local Community Youth. It's a collaborative effort of everyone coming together, and I would like to thank the entire team and the entire collaborative effort by Asia Indigenous Youth Platform, WIFIN Nepal, Kata Indonesia, BIPAN Indonesia, Nilgiris Particularly Vulnerable Tribal Groups Federation India, RECOF TC, Asia Indigenous Peoples Pact, and Rights Resource Initiative and its Asia Youth Program. I extend my heartfelt gratitude to all the speakers. I personally feel that I have grown so much and it has moved me. And thank you so much, Ned, Sabah, Aisha, Ika, Apsana, Lakshmi, Bipan, Indonesia, Dhartri Collective India, Gam, David and Solange. Thank you for everything you do and all the work you have shared with us, and most importantly guided us, inspired us and helped us understand the nuances happening on ground. I would like you all to give a huge round of applause for all the moderators, all the young moderators of all the sessions. I am so proud of you all for all the hard work you have put in to put this together, coordinating with each other, coming from different time zones, different regions, and you all were so amazing and I'm so proud of you. So thank you, Kim, Febriani, Sifu, Deepak and Simran. I would like to take this opportunity to thank all our interpreters. This event would not have been possible without our interpreters. So let's give a huge round of applause for them, for the Bahasa, Nepali and Hindi interpreters. Well, it's been a journey to have this event, but most importantly, as you know, Solange, David and Gam said, it's been a journey from them and their elders to us, which we are now taking it ahead. And I have always felt that we are a bridge from the elders to the coming generation, and that's why I feel it's really important for all of us. I want to just say and acknowledge all of your presence in this entire journey of this initiative and this collective. So I would like to specially thank Michelin, who is the chairwoman of BPAN Indonesia. Thank you, the entire team of BPAN Indonesia, for engaging in this process, for all the work you have put and also sharing with us the smartphone movement and homecoming movement. I would like to specially thank GAM, Kejung and Charuji from AIPP for always being there for us, guiding us, supporting us and holding our hand. It would not have been possible without you all. Thank you so much. I want to specially mention our youth leaders from AIYP who have given the day night across time zone to make this possible. So thank you, Kim, Chandra, Ned, Sabah, Deepak, for your tireless work to make this happen, whether it is in the role of speakers, whether it is in the role of moderators. And I would also like to say that, you know, this is not a thing of, you know, we come on stage and being the moderators or the speakers. They have worked so hard being organizers, facilitators amongst their own groups and regions, and most importantly, not to forget, we just had International Indigenous Day, and this week is such a tight week, but we have pulled it off. So thank you so much all the youth leaders across region who are part of AIYP. And I have only love and love. I'm currently in Bangkok and I want to thank the entire team of Recoft, David, Jana, Mayan, Peach, Marianne. Thank you for holding us throughout this process since the beginning, hosting us, supporting us, guiding us, and most importantly, entire team of Recoft for being so supportive, understanding, and giving us this opportunity to work together. We are all so grateful to you for all your support. I would like to take this opportunity to especially thank the entire Asia team of Rights Resource Initiative. Rose, thank you for always being there for us, guiding us, supporting us. We really love you and thank you for everything you do. And all our members in the Asia team members, but especially Asia Youth Program of Rights and Resource Initiative, Laura and Edith, thank you so much for being there for us, holding us, guiding us. And I would like to mention one thing which Laura always says, and that inspires me so much. It's like, you know, Archana, it's not about the output, it's about the process. It's about the process of leadership, the process of coming together, and the process of going in this journey together. So it's not only the event which we have pulled it off together, but the journey which started off not only from us but from our entire generation and ancestors and elders. So thank you so much, and a special mention for Edith, who is intern at Asia Youth Program. And thank you, Edith, for going an extra mile and doing that interview with Lakshmi and enabling us to hear her voices, and today we were able to do. And I would like to also mention Jonathan and Edith, who pulled it off, the video of Lakshmi, who could not join us, but we were all able to hear us and in her own language, which also brings into perspective that no matter where we are across the globe, we have to enable our community members, our younger sisters, in a way which is possible, like in this case, enabling her to show and highlight and let her speak in our own perspective, in our own language. And I would like to specially take this opportunity to thank the entire comms team of Rights Resource Initiative. I would like to specially mention Jonathan and Nicole, who have tirelessly worked so hard for all their efforts, and entire team who have helped us to pull this off in terms of communication and in terms of making sure that we all are able to understand each other. And a very big thank you and a heartfelt thank you for Asia Works. Let's give a huge round of applause for them for hosting us, and most importantly giving us this platform, connecting with us. And I want to say that today we have been able to have this space. We all have convened in Zoom across regions, across states, across countries, only to see each other, only to have that feeling of solidarity, love and respect. And that's where I would like to deeply thank Asia Works for all their effort for making us coming into a room together, but most importantly helping us learn through each other no matter where we are. So a huge round of applause and thank you for Asia Works. And I would like to specially mention Michael for, thank you Michael from the Asia Works team, to coming and guiding us and briefing us and being with us in this entire journey of, you know, how do we make sure that we are all accessible and we are all visible, and most importantly make sure our voices are heard. And at the end, I would like to thank all participants, those who have joined us, and it also gives me a moment to remember and acknowledge all the youth who have not been able to join us because of criminalizations and marginalizations. And it is a moment also to reflect that our community leaders across the world have been facing challenges, and that's why no matter how much amazing work they are doing and organizing, they were not able to join us today. And also a moment of happiness that you all were able to join us and being with us together. So thank you so much for joining us and engaging with us and being in this journey of learning and growing. The only thing I would like to say is that, you know, this is just the beginning. This is just the beginning of more collaborative work and cherishing the friendship and the solidarity which we have built. I would like to say one thing is, like, in this entire process, I feel I have felt the highest amount of trust in my life ever. And that's because of the youth leaders who have engaged in this process and worked so tirelessly. And that's why I want to sing a song with you and sing a song for you. And as we are towards the ending of the segment, and this song meaning is that go to your communities with happiness, go to your families and friends with a hope and deep desire of respect, solidarity, and advocacy within us. So it's like we came together, we had the space, now we will be going back to our places and engaging in the spaces. So here the song goes. Ani bhai chananing ighai sundar rajinane. Ani bhai chananing ighai sundar rajinane. Liru gachanani, sorry gachanani, ani bhai sorry chanani. So let's go together with happiness, joy and hope within our heart. And here I am signing off from this beautiful, beautiful event. But how can we sign off without taking pictures? I love pictures. So I want to invite you all to put on your camera for having a group picture. Sure. So I would request all the speakers to be all settled. So here we go for the pictures. 1, 2 and 3. So here I am, Archana Soreng from India, currently in Bangkok, signing off from this amazing and beautiful event, which is Empowering Indigenous and Local Community Youth, an initiative by Asia Indigenous and Local Community Youth, celebrating International Youth Day. Thank you everyone. Juhar.